Joining me right now is undefeated flyweight. One of the best flyweights coming up in Australia, Philip Kim. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you going, John, man? Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, right now you're in the beginning of your career, and the first thing I want to know about you is how did you get your start in mixed martial arts?
Well, I didn't start really in mixed martial arts first. I started in Taekwondo when I was younger, and then kind of moved to full contact karate. I did a lot of Kyokushin karate there. I competed a lot in that, and then did some kickboxing. So mainly it was a lot of striking, and then I wanted to try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. After watching like the start of the UFC, and I guess I fell in love with Jiu-Jitsu and did that for a little bit. And then I wanted to kind of progress and test both my striking and grappling skills. And that's when I wanted to try MMA. So it kind of evolved into that.
Well, that's a pretty good evolution from starting in Taekwondo to karate and then, transitioning to BJJ. That's like almost a perfect, if you threw in some wrestling in there, it would be a perfect combination, right?
Exactly. That's the only thing I kind of missed out on. But actually now I'm doing a lot more wrestling as part of my MMA training. I love it as well. I find it the hardest out of everything to do. Like harder than striking, harder than jiu-jitsu is wrestling, man. It really tests you.
Past few years, you've been traveling abroad. I saw that you went to the US a few years ago and then Japan and Thailand. How
Yeah.
important is it for you to go over to these other countries and get some training in?
Definitely. I feel like, a bit training in Sydney, Australia, sometimes we're a bit like kind of secluded away from the rest of the world. And you need to kind of go out there and see the other competitors, the other fighters, see where your level's at, where their level's at. So I always like to either train internationally or compete internationally. So when I went to America, I went to the World's Jiu-Jitsu there and competed there. Tokyo trained a bit there as well, and then Thailand as well, just trained a bit there. So you met a lot of great people, a lot of high level competitors and athletes. So it's really good just to branch out a bit.
What did you learn by going out to these other countries and training about yourself as a fighter?
I guess maybe that I was a bit, well, kind of think that kind of closed-minded a little bit. So I guess training in one gym with the same sort of kind of training partners, you kind of maybe get a little stagnant here and there. So going out, training with other guys, competing against other guys, it kind of just opens you up a bit. It just opens their mind up a bit to new techniques, new training methods, new levels of competition. So you see all that. I like that aspect of training.
I see that you've become a BJJ coach. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. I teach kids and adults at my gym. So at my coach's gym. So I'm an assistant instructor. So I'm under Anthony Perosh at Team Perosh Mixed Martial Arts. So I help out there, I guess, throughout the week.
Anthony Perosh, that's a guy everybody should know or they do know who he is because he has fought in the UFC. How important is it for him to be a mentor for you?
Definitely. I mean, I guess he's my coach, so he guides me in terms of my MMA journey, in my general training journey, and not just that, also the personal journey as well. So I kind of use him to bounce ideas off, and I mean, he's very knowledgeable. Like, just he knows, he's experienced, he's been there, done that. So I kind of try and use that wisdom that he's got, trying to use it to my advantage. So. Very important to have him as a mentor.
You, outside of being a professional fighter, do you have another occupation or what do you do? Are you just doing the BJJ coaching thing?
Yeah, I used to kind of work in office. I studied like business at uni and then went and worked for a bank. And I trained on the side, I guess, all throughout when I was working there. And I just wasn't what I wanted to do. I always wanted to train. I wanted to fight. So I kind of just put that to one side. I kind of gave that up and then trying to focus full time on fighting. And obviously then as part of that is just working like at the gym part time. So I kind of I'm kind of working to fight, I guess, at the moment. So I'm really I've got goals in terms of what I want to do and where I want to go. So I'm very, very goal orientated in that way.
You made your debut in early 2017 and basically showed every single aspect of your game. You've got a knockout in the first round, submission in the first round, and then in your last fight, you went all 3 rounds and got a good, clean decision. So far in your career, what have you seen that you can work on?
Always lots to work on. Obviously, I want to be a complete fighter. I want to be good in every aspect, and whenever I go into fight, I want to try and beat my opponent in everywhere. I guess some people ask me what my game plan is and all that. Generally, I just want to try to be good at every area, be proficient in every area. So I'm always working, whether it's my stand-up striking, moving to the wrestling, and then moving to jiu-jitsu. I don't know, man. I find MMA is kind of almost the hardest because you're trying to do so many things and put it together. It's like you could just focus a lifetime on just, say, jiu-jitsu or just on, kickboxing. But, to focus like all the aspects, such a limited time, you're always learning, you're always trying to learn fast, learn quick, adapt quick. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to take as much in, learn as quickly as possible. And obviously every fight I'm learning something as well, but I'm learning stuff in the gym every time I'm training, learning about my body, everything. So it's just a constant learning process for me.
Last November, you were supposed to make your Hex debut and you injured your knee.
Yeah.
Recovering from that injury, was that the biggest injury so far in your career?
Yeah, I did my medial ligament, crucial ligament, so my MCL. I've done it before. It was kind of just a weird accident in training, and it popped. Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, it kind of stopped me in terms of my, I guess, where I was sort of going. I was on a momentum kind of thing. Yeah, I'd say kind of the biggest so far because I really wanted to fight on Hex. And obviously training hard for that, and then having that injury kind of just put a stop to all that. But I just recovered. I didn't train for a bit, and then slowly did a little rehab, recovered that, and then progressed my training after that. So
Yeah, after that you got booked for Eternal 30 on March 3rd for the
yeah,
title, which actually you're booked again for this fight, your next fight. And you're supposed to face Shannon Ross. He got injured. He had to pull out. How devastating was that for you, since you have been out for so long and then you went through a whole camp and at the last
yeah.
minute it was just taken away from you?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess a lot of fighters kind of know when those last minute pullouts happen. It's very devastating. Like, you kind of put so much effort into your training camp, obviously coming off the back of that injury and then training back again. So I started training, roughly around December, like started December, like before Christmas. So I was kind of already kind of focused in kind of training camp because I knew something was going to come up for March. And then obviously I was able to get that title shot. So training just progressed all the way through January and February. And then to have that news like so close, like it was pretty much the final week of my training camp, and everything was going like it was just one of the best training camps I've ever had. So that made it even more. It just hurt even more after hearing the news from that. But that's the fight game, I guess, in the sense. And you see it in UFC as well. Like, people get injured, people dropping out all the time. I guess it's part of the game, but it's just a frustrating part of the game as well. You just have to move on and on to the next one, which is again the title fight.
Yeah, on May 5th, Eternal 33, you're going to face a new opponent, but for the same title,
Yeah.
Brayden Graham, who is from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Did your camp continue? Did you know that you were going to take this fight, or did you kind of take a break and start another camp?
Well, what had happened was that on the last Eternal show, which I was meant to fight on, my teammate Andrew Cara, he fought up on there and he won first round. TK, he's a great guy. So when he fought up there, I went up there as well and spoke to the promoter, and we're gonna match up the fight again. So I was gonna fight with Shannon again on May 5th, and so we kind of did a bit of media on that day, on that fight day, announced the fight. And so it was kind of back on. So May 5th, I was going to fight Shannon again for the flyweight title. And then it was just, I think, a couple of weeks ago that he pulled out again. And that's when Brayden Graham stepped up, and I'm going to fight him for the title. So I was like, obviously I was preparing again for, I've been preparing for, I guess, Shannon for a couple of months now, and just had to readjust for a new opponent. So as I says, like I said before, you can't do much about it. You just have to keep moving on. But the most important thing is, I want that title. So I guess I've got to be like Khabib. It's like whoever it's going to be, I just got to step up and fight. So
yeah, so many twists and turns. And I guess this is going to be good for you in the future because you experienced this at the beginning stages of your career. So when it happens later on, you're like, oh, whatever. I'm just training for myself.
Yeah, I guess. I hope it doesn't happen too much more in the future. But I guess you're right. I kind of know what to do, know what to expect, and I'll kind of be a bit used to it. So yeah, in that aspect, it'll be better.
In this fight, what do you expect? Do you expect a quick finish, or do you expect him to go all three?
I can never predict. I guess, like I said before, I always just want to go in there, perform my best, and try and beat my opponent everywhere. So I hope, like, obviously the best outcome is I always look for the finish. So I always want to finish my opponents. But if it goes to decision, it goes to decision. I can do 3x5 easy. So, but I want that finish for sure.
When you look at him as an opponent, he doesn't really have many professional fights. He does have an extensive amateur career. When you analyze him, how would you describe him as a fighter?
I watched a bit of his other fights. I guess maybe all round, like maybe he's like good in all aspects. Like I've seen him good striking, good wrestling against the cage, and he's finished a few opponents, I think, by submission. So he's kind of got that all-round game. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I believe my game's going to be better. So
If you could give him a message, like a pre-fight message, before you enter the cage, what would you tell Brayden?
I'm never really good at that, that kind of trash talk. Listen, like obviously I feel like I'm a martial artist, so I always respect my opponents. I respect them. I've got no ill will towards them. So for me, it's just competition, right? So I want to test my skills. I want to test your skills. So I guess that's pretty much what I say. Just let's go in there, let's give it our best, and put on a good fight. That's important as well. So.
All right, May 5th, Eternal 33. The vacant flyweight title is on the line. You could catch Philip Kim taking on Brayden Graham. It's going to be an exciting fight. It's two of the top guys in Australia and New Zealand clashing. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much, man. Come check us out May 5th, flyweight title.